Well, greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome back to tonight's second half. Before we jump into this very horrifying encounter out of Ohio, shared to us by a subscriber, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. The merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost you a cent. Click that like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And folks, they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to tonight's second half, shall we? I have Randy with us today, and he is going to share the encounter with us that day, and he's going to try to remember everything about that day because it was a while ago. So, Randy, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for taking some time out of your day to share this with us. I appreciate it.
That's fine. Like I said, I don't mind doing this at all.
All right. So, pretty much everybody that I read in the comment section was excited to hear about this in your words because most encounters, they're just a sighting, you know. I mean, you and your brother you took one down, DNR came out, so if you don't mind, I'd love it if you could just go from, day one of hunting season that year.
Okay. Basically, it started out like all of our hunting days. We start out here about 5:30, and we live about, 10-minute drive, 15-minute drive away. We took an old Jeep that we've always used for hunting, and we went down there and we done our hunting. It wasn't the first day of deer season. It was the second day of deer season. The first day, my son hunted with us, and when after the first day that evening, he'd come in and he said, he got in the old Jeep with us, and he said, "Did you guys notice how quiet the woods was all day today?" And my brother looked around and he said, I never noticed that, but yes, it was. It was very quiet all day. So we come home, and the next day we got up again 5:30 and go down to get on there. But my son had went with his father to go hunt that day. And me and my brother had went down and got in the woods, and basically we hunt in the same spot every time. I hunt. Usually there's an old tree there that fell over, and I sat on it. He sits about 50 or 60 yards away from me, and he sits on this old tree stump that we'd cut this tree down years ago. And this farm that we hunted on was rented by my uncle. And I've hunted on this farm ever since I was 13 years old. I've hunted on it. So I hunted on it since 1966.
Okay.
And the farm is always, up until even to this day, it's farmed by a relative of mine, So I still have access to hunt and all that. So anyhow, we was sitting there, and got there about 5:30 or so, a little bit after 5:30, and got on our stands. We sat there, and I did notice that morning that it was real quiet. And my brother, like I said, he was out 50 or 60 yards away. We were both sitting kind of along the edge of the woods, but we could see out into this cornfield that our uncle had just shelled some corn out of. And we were sitting there, and morning wears on, and about 10:30, I heard my brother shoot. So I stepped out, and when I stepped out, I thought, well, there was a deer there, and he was shooting at, maybe I'd get a shot at another one.
Right.
And when I got stepped out, I realized that it wasn't wasn't any deer. It looked like a big German Shepherd dog running on its hind legs towards my brother, and he was shooting at it. And he had a 358 Winchester, which is a very high-powered rifle, and I had a 308 rifle. And we weren't supposed to be hunting with them. We were kind of illegal for the second day, but that's whole nother story, I guess. But anyhow, he'd shot it. He's shooting at it, and I shot at it. And when I shot, I seen blood fly out of its right shoulder. And like I said, the second shot I put in this rifle, I hit it in the head. And when I hit it in the head, it made a slashing mark at my brother with its right paw, and it actually sliced his shoulder, and I didn't know it till later on, but his chest. So I run down there to where he's at, and this thing is dead. I mean, it's dead after being shot in the head. There's not even any movement on it. Right. So anyhow, I run down there, and I said, Rick and I are both saying, what the heck is this thing, And I said, I don't know what it is. But I got him up there and got him back there, and I drove up. I run up and got the Jeep, come down, got him. We took it, went up to my uncle's house, and my uncle's wife called it in as a animal attack, a wild animal attack. And we sat there. Well, when the ambulance come, the two sheriffs came and two ODNR guys. I knew there was another ODNR guy that I knew from high school days, and he was there, and he heard the call. He was hunting a couple farms away, and he came down because he knew that where we was at hunting. So he came down. So they're loading my brother up in the ambulance, and he's telling them, they're asking him questions, and I'm telling them what's going on. And they said, of course, they don't believe nothing I'm telling them. Nobody believed us. And I said, well, we'll show you. Come on. So my friend got in, and the ODNR guy that was my friend got in the Jeep with me. One of the sheriffs and one of the ODNR guys got in. And I never thought about it until the time, because they left. One of the sheriffs and one of the ODNI guard brought a pickup, and they come in two different pickups. The ODNR guys and the sheriffs come in two different cars. But I never thought about it till later on. But they asked me all these questions all the way down to where it was at. And what they were doing is questioning me to see if my answers were the same every time. I think is what they were trying to figure out, you know. And they never asked me one thing about the guns we used. They didn't even mention them, because we took the guns in and put them in our uncle's house, kind of hid them away, because we weren't supposed to be hunting with them. Right. Yeah. So, anyways, I took them down. I got out there, and only thing these guys could say is, "What the hell are that?" And I said, "I don't know." They said, "Well, it looks like a big German Shepherd dog." I said, "I've never seen a German Shepherd dog run 100 yards on its back legs." Yeah, absolutely. And this guy said, "Well, it was on its back legs." I said, "Yeah." And we all looked at it. We was looking it over, and like I said, it had claws that was like 3 or 4 inches long. I mean, it had paws or hands that looked like a raccoon, but they were huge. I mean, they were like twice as big as my hand, as a human's hand. And they were, his back legs or back feet looked like a raccoon's, only had ginormous claws on them too. And the feet were huge. They were probably 15 inches long at least. Wow. And the body itself was coal black, except the stomach. It had white on its stomach, down its chest. And, of course, they looked it all over, and my brother had hit it 4 times in the chest. And I'd hit it once in the shoulder, and like I said, and then in the head. And the headshot's what put it down. But, it had four shots right through the chest, right where its heart and lungs should have been, that it should have stopped it, but it didn't. And they talked there a while, and they brought more guys in, and the guy that was my friend from the ODNR, he was snapping pictures, and they were snapping pictures, and the sheriff snapping pictures. Anyways, I tell my friend, I said, "You think you could get me some pictures of that?" He said, "Oh yeah, I'll definitely get you some pictures." Now, when they were looking at it, did they move it at all? Did they, roll it over to look at the back side of it, or did they just okay? Yeah, It had a tail that was about 2.5 or 3 foot long that was kind of bushy.
Okay. Stupid question. Was the genitals, were they noticeable like a dog?
Oh yeah,
or like a human?
It looked like a male dog.
Okay.
I mean, it looked like a big male dog. Only the genitals, I guess, the sack on it was huge. It looked like, I'd say it looked more like a tennis ball size or bigger.
Right.
Maybe grapefruit. It's genital part of it.
Right.
Now the other part, it looked just like a male dog.
Okay.
You couldn't see anything different about it.
Right.
But,
okay.
The bullets had went in this thing and it hadn't come out of it. It didn't go out. The only bullet that went in it that went out of it was the one where I shot it in the head. And it went just to the, I guess, the backside, towards the backside of his skull, right by his eye. And then it must have lodged in the other side, went through it because it took his eye out. It took its eye out,
Yeah.
It didn't blow its head off. You could see its head plain as day. And it had like teeth that were like 3 inches long. Its canine teeth were like 3 or 4 inches long. They were huge. And that's something they was taking a lot of pictures of it that way. And they took pictures of the skull, its face, its legs, its limbs. The one guy was taking individual pictures of everything, its whole body, not just one body picture,
Right. Now, did it make any noise when you guys were shooting at it?
I didn't hear any. My brother said that well, let me tell you the story of that part of it here in just a minute after I get this other part done.
Okay, sorry.
But and that's all right. And like I said, these guys were talking, and by the time they're messing around, it's getting like 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. They've messed around there, and there's more game wardens coming. I mean, more. They just keep coming in. So finally, they decided they've got 2 pickup trucks there, but they're not going to take and load it in the back of the pickup, take it away. They're going to wait and take it away tomorrow. Which I had no idea why they did that. I would have took it that day because I told them, I said, we can lay that thing across the hood of my Jeep and I'll drive it up out of here. No, they didn't want to do that. They wanted it there. So they didn't take it. They had a new guy that was from the ODNR. They said, you stay here tonight and watch this thing. Okay. So we got moved around till he could pull up. He was about 40 feet from it. And so he could shine his headlights on it at night, okay? And we all got in the vehicle and come home, okay? Well, my brother wanted it, when he got out of the hospital, he wanted to go down and look at it. I said, let's wait and we'll go down and look, because when he gets out of the hospital, it's 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
When he gets everything done. And he wanted to go look at it, and I said, let's wait till we go down in the morning early and look at it. We'll take a camera with us so we can take some pictures of it. So me and him was talking, and he said, I don't understand out there's this damn hospital. He said, I tried to explain to them that this was an animal attack, and they kept saying, well, it was a dog bite. He said, hell, ain't no dog bite. He said, that's a cut for something like a werewolf. He told these guys. He said, as soon as he said that, he said the doctor's ears perked up, and he said that finally a sheriff and an ODNR guy come in there and questioned him. He kept sitting, and they said, well, what kind of dog was this? And my brother says, it's not a dog. He said, it was a werewolf. He said, I seen it. It's a werewolf. I shot it. And the guy said, oh, well, okay. What kind of dog? Kept saying, what kind of dog was it? Brother kept saying, it's not a dog. It was a werewolf. And they kept saying the dog bite. He said, well, this is a scratch. Anybody can look at it, tell it was a scratch, it wasn't a bite.
Yeah.
So he said the worst part of this whole thing was when they was cleaning it. He said they had to look like a wire brush in them, every one of them. He had 4 big long scratches on him and a little tiny one, like a thumb scratch, I guess is what you would call it, on him too. And he said they just kept calling it a dog bite. So he was pretty aggravated at him when we got out there. And he said the funny part was, he said he was sitting in one of them emergency rooms, and they kept saying, well, that crazy guy just come in over there, that crazy guy. And my brother didn't realize, but they're talking about him. So, and he, thinking, what crazy guy? I hope they don't let this crazy guy come over to where I'm at. And it was him they was talking about a werewolf, So anyhow, I got my brother home, and I asked him some questions, and he was telling me that, he said, well, I watched these things. This is my brother's version. He said, I watched these things come across that cornfield. And he said, they just kind of loped along. And he said, but I noticed that they walked funny. He said, they were on their front legs, their 4 legs. There was 3 of them. And he said, they walked real funny. He said, they were just kind of loping around. He said, they'd run a little bit, sniff around on the ground, run a little bit, sniff. And when he said they come up there closer to where he's at, and said he had his head down. And he's just kind of looking underneath of his hat at them, to see what they were doing. And he said, pretty soon, he said, he realized how big they really were. He said, these things were huge. And he said, at first he thought it was just the neighbors. We were on the east side of this field, and said the neighbor a couple fields to the west of us had German Shepherds and Doberman Pinscher dogs. And he thought that's what they were. And he said, but they got there about 100, 125 yards from him. He said the biggest one kind of looked at him, and he said it growled or made a noise, sound like a growl to him, he said. And he said when it done that, he said he took the safety off his gun because he said he thought this thing going to come chasing after him. But he said as soon as he growled, the other 2 run like more to the south, running away from him. And said this one stood up on his hind legs and come right straight at him, running right straight at him. And then from then on, that's when I got involved and shot. He was shooting at it, and I was shooting at it. I never saw the other 2, but he said there was 3 of them together at the time. So anyhow, we're getting ready to go back down there the next day and to look at it. And the game warden guy, the new guy, he's sitting up there at my uncle's house on the phone. They're yelling back and forth, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. My uncle come out of the house, and they said that thing's going. I said, what? Said, that thing's going. Said, it ain't down there. I said, I know it was dead. I said, it couldn't have got up and walked away. It was dead.
Right.
And so he come and said that the game warden boy didn't know what happened. He said he heard growls and howls and screeches that night after, way after dark. He said it started around midnight and happened till like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And he said when it finally stopped, said he kind of laid back there and said he kept turning his lights on and off because he had the vehicle running. Said he kept turning the vehicle lights on just to see if anything was there with it. Said he never saw anything. Said about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, he went to sleep, fell asleep in the car. And said when he woke up at 8 o'clock, it was gone. It wasn't there anymore. And he said he had marks, strange marks, like handprints or paw prints or something on both doors, like it tried to open up the doors on his vehicle, on the latches of his vehicle.
Right.
And he said that was what scared him more than anything. So he come up out of there. But then of course, all the game wardens guys come down there, and they thought me and Rick took it. And they thought me and Rick had taken it. And we, like I said, we wasn't even back down there now,
Yeah.
So we everything just kind of went to quiet, and you never heard anything more about it for a long time. And about, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks later, there was a black SUV sitting down into my brother's driveway. When my brother would drive down there to see who they was, they'd take off and run away, leave. So one evening I went down to try to see them. They'd done the same thing, run away. So they didn't know that I had another way out of my driveway. And I went around the road and come around in front of them, pulled up in front of them so they couldn't get out. And my brother walked down over the hill. And we jumped out and we asked these guys what was they doing there. And the guy said, well, this is the first time we ever been here. So we're looking for and named some kind of bogus ass road that there ain't no road around here even close to that,
Yeah.
So we talked to this guy. I said, well, you're going to have to stick around here until we find out what's going on. I said, I want to see some ID and stuff. Well, the guy didn't want to hand me his ID or give me his identification. So by then I took and had lost all my mind or temperature or whatever. And I pulled a pistol out of my pocket and told him, I said, well, if you don't, I said, we're going to just end it right here. So then he handed the things out, or tried to hand it out to me, and I made him throw it out. And made him throw them out on the ground on the passenger side where my brother was. And there had some kind of a AIC or ASI or ASSI or something that said on their IDs, which I think they was bogus, you know.
Right.
So anyhow, I don't know, a few weeks later, they was there again. And my brother went down this time, and they said, well, we're still lost. We can't find this road. Well, my brother said, there ain't no name or ain't no road around there like that. And by that name, there's not even, said, you're not even close to anything in that name. So anyhow, my brother had went back in the field, and we went back there one time and behind his house in a field, and we were shooting guns, and we come across a guy in a camouflaged uniform and, or like camouflage clothing. And he was just laying back in there. And Rick said, I walked over and I said, what are you doing in here, buddy? He said, oh, I was back here hunting turkeys. I said, well, ain't turkey season. What are you doing in here? I said, you're on the wrong piece of property. Oh, well, I'm supposed to be over here on these other people's property then. I said, who are you supposed to be on? Well, he couldn't tell me the name of the farmer. So it was some kind of a bogus bullshit deal that they were watching my brother and I. That's what it was. So,
wow.
And it may have been such a thing that they were there trying to protect us. I don't know. You know, maybe these things, they know that these things would try to smell us or trail us home or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So I really don't know anymore, you know?
Yeah, you can't, I mean, you don't really know. I've heard so many encounters where, you know, the whatever they are, whoever they are, you know, go follow the people home to protect them, or is it to scare them, or you don't really know. Keep them quiet. It's definitely crazy. I was trying to put together like ASI or and I'm like animal service investigation or something like that, or But now, what was their demeanor like? Were they, I mean, before you obviously pulled out your pistol on them, were they?
Well, before they were okay. They were courteous and nice and all that. But when I told them, I said, well, I need to see some ID, then their attitude sort of changed.
Right.
And when their attitude changed, I thought the guy was going to try to drive around my vehicle because I had to pull in front of their car. And my brother had of course they didn't know, but my brother had a pistol on him too, and he had it behind his back. And I just pulled my pistol out and said, boys, I'm telling you, it's just going to happen unless I don't get some information.
Yeah.
So they was going to hand me the card to me, but I know not to take nothing from somebody's hand. I'm smart enough to know that one of them guys could grab you or something like that, and done a whole world of hurt to you. So I told them to throw it out on the passenger side. So I made them throw both of them out. Don't know their names. John Jameson was one of them, I think. But it's been so long ago, I can't really remember.
Right.
So, but I think that was the one of them that was on the thing. And like I said, after I pulled the gun out on them, the whole demeanor changed. They was real kind and courteous again. So, and I wasn't going to do anything, I'm going to tell you, but I was just so fed up with trying to ask these, this went on for like 2 or 3 weeks that we tried to pull down there. And then the guy would say, well, this is the first time I ever been here. Well, there's bullshit. I know better because I could tell by looking at the vehicle, it was the same vehicle.
Right. Right. And then to come back again and this and that. I mean, yeah.
And I like to say, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they was there for trying to protect us, thinking that these things would come looking for us. And as of to this day, I've never seen another one, and I haven't ever heard noise that, I hear coyotes around here. But ain't nothing. I mean, what my brother said that this thing made a noise, so.
Right.
And I don't know,
No.
But my brother said this thing, when it run at him, when it stood up once. Have you ever seen how a Tyrannosaurus Rex leans forward with its arms and runs?
Yeah, kind of hunched over a little bit.
Yeah, that's how this thing ran at my brother.
Yeah.
Wow. And like I said, I never, I don't know any kind of animal that can run on its hind legs 100 yards.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I've seen dogs walk around on their back legs, but not no 100 yards run.
Yeah, I mean,
because this thing was running full bore.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of funny.
And
when
this
those,
thing,
what were you going to say?
Also, this thing closed that 100 or 125 yards in, I mean, like milliseconds. I mean, it probably covered that 100 yards in 5 or 6 seconds.
Now the other two, what did they do? They just kind of veered off?
My brother said that when this thing growled, they took off running to my brother's right.
Okay.
So they was running on down towards the side of the river. And the one, like Rick said, like my brother said, he just stood up. When he stood up, he just, and Rick said it was the weirdest thing. He said this thing grinned at him or smiled at him before he come chasing after him. Said it was, said, I don't know if it was when he was showing me his teeth or if he just thought, well, here's a meal. He said to this day, he said he doesn't know why that thing was smiling at him. But he said it just smiled at him like it was grinning at him, you know. And like I said, and I think if my brother had been there by himself, he would have,
right.
You know.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
What do you now? You've been hunting all your life, so I'm assuming that you can estimate a weight. You know, what would you say this thing weighed?
Oh, I'd say the thing weighed 500 pounds, 450, 500 pounds, easy. It's big.
Right.
It's like, I mean, it was 7 or 7.5 feet tall. It was nothing but muscle. I mean, it was, I'll tell you, it looked like, not really so much like a bodybuilder, but like a well-built man. You know, its body did, you know. Down at its hips, it was kind of, you know, like thinned down, you know, like bodybuilders get. And the legs were real muscly. I mean, the legs were like beefcake legs, you know, the back legs was. Now, the front legs weren't so big, but they were way longer than the rear legs.
Okay.
This thing was. And like I said, my brother, you know, he actually gave up hunting after that. But I never have. I've kept hunting. But the only thing that changed about me, I never hunted on the ground again. I built me a tree stand so I come up off the ground, you know. So
yeah, definitely a smart decision.
Well, I always felt I was, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I've never went no place that I don't have firepower. I've got, you know, we reloaded all of our own bullets at that time, and we put, you know, high powered powder in them. You know, we was making something that would shoot a long ways and had a lot of power, and I'm glad we did that day, you know. So I don't know what would have happened if I'd missed that shot as far as shooting at his head when I shot at his head and would have missed, because I'm afraid my brother had been in a whole world of hurt, and so would I.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
But like I said, I've hunted this farm for a long, long time. I've never, ever heard a noise. I've never, ever seen anything like that before. I've seen dogs there before. I mean, I go down there a lot of times in the fall of the year after it's frosted and stuff and just walk through the woods. I still do that today.
Right.
You know, but I don't never go without a gun. I always take something that's got a lot of, you know, it's got some oomph to it, I guess.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. And you were saying in the narration part that you sent me, your buddy that was in the ODNR, he ironically, or, you know, lost the pictures.
Well, what he said was the pictures didn't develop.
Okay, yeah.
So, you know, which I think it was bullshit. And I've asked him. He's retired now, so and I ask him all the time if he still got them pictures. He'll say he doesn't. And today he says, I don't know what you're talking about. That's just, you know, that's what he says. He doesn't know what I'm talking about. I said, well, what about that big werewolf-looking thing we shot? Well, I don't remember that. He said, it's been so long ago, I don't remember. Now, you know you'd remember something like that.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, you know. So, but it's you know, typical, I guess, your government at work trying to tell everybody that there's no such a thing. And I call it a werewolf because it looked like, I don't know if any of you guys seen the Van Helsing werewolves in the Van Helsing movie. That's exactly what it looked like. When old Van Helsing's turned into the werewolf, them ears on top of its head and that muzzle, them two things could have passed for each other. I'm telling you, it could have passed for the same thing.
Right.
So,
and your brother, that's kind of funny too, because I'm just thinking about how, you know, your friend there, he kind of just washed it away. But maybe like the DNR and the sheriff and everybody, they kind of got together and phoned the hospital and said, hey, label this a bite. We don't want any paper trail on this. And that's why they were so adamant about what kind of bite, what this and what that, and just the government and media bullshit.
Yeah, well, and that's what me and my brother have always said, because like he said this wasn't a bite. He said a werewolf scratched me with its front claws. He said this is a werewolf. And he said I was adamant about telling him. I said write that down, that this was a werewolf attack. And people look at him like he's crazy, and that's one of the reasons I think that he doesn't want to talk about it anymore. Yeah. I truly think that he thinks that, he's 5 years younger than me, so he's 62, and he just want to kind of let it go. He doesn't really give a shit about it, I think, anymore, and like I said, his kids, his grandkids, his wife that he has now knows nothing about it, the only person that really knew anything about it was his first wife, and my second wife knew about it, and our mother. That's right. The only ones that ever, you're the first person I've ever told this story to. And I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but it happened. We was there. I mean, seen this thing, and like I said, it probably weighed 450, 500. It was the biggest, it looked like, I don't know, like a calf, like a half-grown calf. Okay. Is how big it was, I mean, it was huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I said, it had a kind of a bushy tail. It was basically all black. I mean, this thing was so black that it was black. I mean, if it would have been nighttime, you couldn't have seen this thing. That's how black it was.
Yeah.
And another thing I would say about that scratch or that cut on my brother, he said that the reason they wanted to clean it so well is, he said, when they started cleaning it, it had dead meat that was left in it.
Oh,
not from my brother, but from the claws, evidently, of this thing.
Yeah.
Bacteria
and shit like that, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that's what said. They cleaned it, and they give him, I forget how many different shots, and all that stuff, and pain medicine. Like he said, he wasn't in any pain. Like he told him, he said, this doesn't hurt. He said, this isn't hurt.
Yeah.
So
that's strange. I mean, if you think about it, a gash, any kind of gash, it hurts after a while, wow, that's definitely weird. I'm thinking, because you were talking about how the other two ran to the right, and to the right, you said, if I heard you correctly, is a river. I'm thinking that you guys were just in the wrong spot, it was a chance crossing, that these were heading toward the river to use the river edge there to travel. And, just a random thing, and this guy saw you and probably said, shit, we're they're gonna shoot at us, so hey, I'll be the one that takes it,
Well, and I've always thought too, that's what me and my brother talked about, that it was something that was just moving through the area.
Yeah.
They weren't, and it was just happenstance that we was there on the day that gun season was for deer, and they just happened to be coming through there at the same time, and it was just luck of the draw, luck for him, and bad luck for my brother,
Yeah.
And like I said, my brother, you can't even hardly see the scar on his. You can't see the scar on his chest. You got to look so hard. It wasn't a real big cut on his chest, but it was cut. But the one on his shoulder, it was right at the top of his shoulder and arm. It looked to me like it was deep, but they didn't stitch it up or anything. So I like I said, I am not no doctor, medical person, so I don't know.
Right.
But they just kept making him. They give him some kind of can't think of what it's called now. They gave him some kind of a medicine to put on it, but he had to put peroxide on it every time that he changed the bandage, which he's supposed to change the bandage every 8 hours. And my brother said every time he poured peroxide on it, said it just foamed, or it looked like it was infected,
Wow. Yeah.
So
that's crazy that it didn't hurt. I mean, that right there baffles me, because you think something like that would hurt.
Well, you would have. you got to understand, my brother is one of the toughest people I've ever known in the whole entire. And I've known some tough guys, but I've seen my brother fight 3 or 4 guys before whip them all. So he's not no sissy.
Right.
He's not a sissy by any means.
Right.
But like I said, he's just tough. I mean, he's tough. And but like I said, I just, my thing is that, you know, I've asked that, like I said, my friend from the ODNR, he's all the time telling me he doesn't know what I'm talking about. Said there was never no pictures taken of that. I don't even know what you're talking about. There was never no pictures. There's never been pictures. So, like I said, typical guy that I guess, you know, he worked for the government, so he had to go what the government told him, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
So, and when he was doing this, he was higher up in the game warden. There's only 1 or 2 or 3 people ahead of him that was his boss. I mean, he was one of the bigger bosses at the time, you know. So, but like I said, there was probably 10 to 15 of them guys showed up down there through the day, you know, looking at it, taking pictures.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I know should have been pictures someplace.
Yeah,
there should be somewhere.
Not all of them didn't develop, quote unquote.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, I keep calling this thing a werewolf. You know, that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Is a werewolf.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. It could have been what they call a Dogman. I don't know. I mean, it was just my brother said that. You know, when I seen it, I didn't see it on all 4s at all. All I seen it was up on its hind legs running towards my brother.
Right.
And I'm telling you, it was fast. I mean, it was really fast. You know, it's no wonder that people that's by themselves don't survive if they come up missing. I mean, you know, and the claws that this thing had, and I mean, it didn't. The claws didn't retract or anything. They were just like. I mean, they were, you know, if you have your hand and you put like a claw on the end of your finger, that's what it looked like. It just looked like it was part of its hand growed, you know, the claw was growed out of its hand. But I assume it's like a fingernail or something like that, or the claws. But it looked like it was the hand and the claw were all very capable of working together, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but like I said, the back feet had claws on them too. They were, I mean, and like I said, I'd say the foot was at least 15 inches long, you know, I mean, but
now did that look like a human or more like a raccoon as well, kind of?
Oh, the back foot looked more like a raccoon too.
Okay.
Or I thought it looked like a raccoon. Now,
so
the only thing
did it have like a narrow length to it, or was it kind of like a rounded length? You know what I mean?
Oh, it looked, well, it's actually its foot reminded you of a raccoon, other than after you got past where the claws are.
Right.
Then it looked like more like a person's foot.
So it had, it was digits just, and everything too.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was so. Mostly the thing that looked human about it was its body. You know, and it didn't have like big biceps or triceps or anything like that. It was basically just all huge. Now its legs, its thigh legs were huge. You know, it's the thighs part of this thing's legs were huge. And like I said, I looked at it, you know, they rolled it over and I looked at it. I looked at the thing and I mean, I grabbed a hold of its ears and looked at it. And when I pulled its head up, mouth opened up. You could see the teeth just plain as day. I mean, the teeth were kind of a yellowish color, you know. I couldn't tell what color eyes it had because, like I said, the one eye was going. And when I shot it, the other eye was just kind of, it was in it, but you couldn't really see what it was because I think that's the way the bullet went into its head, you know, went through its side of its eyes.
Yeah.
So, but I picked its ear, I got it by its ears, and the reason I going to tell you another thing, I picked it up by the ears, and my friend took a picture of me holding its head up. You know, having a hold of it.
Yeah.
And that's when I said, well, I want a couple pictures of that. Well, you know, I thought, well, I'll go down, me and Rick can go back down. Because like I said, it was 11 o'clock before he got out of the hospital. And he wanted to go down and look at it. And I wish we had, and I wish we had took some pictures of it then. But, it's 11 o'clock at night. He's got to take pain medicine, and he's not in pain, but he's still supposed to be taking this stuff. I know I kick myself in the butt all the time for not going back down there with my own camera and taking pictures of this damn thing myself, because I knowed I would have had pictures of it, so.
Yeah.
But like I say, I think it was just a freak thing that it was there when we was.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think it was definitely just a random occurrence. Just you guys were at the spot and they were at the spot, and boom, it was, something that happened. I'm wondering if the DNR, if they lied and sent another truck out while everyone was, and put it on the truck and took off, or if the other two came back and took the body.
Well, the DNR boy, he was panicking because it was going.
Right.
And I would have thought that if another truck had come down there and got this thing, that he wouldn't have been a big panic. He would have left. He wouldn't have stayed there overnight.
Yeah,
they wouldn't have done that. He'd have said, "Oh, they come down, got it, and left," and that'd been the end of it. But this boy was panicking because this thing was stuck out from underneath his nose, and I believe, my own personal opinion is, I believe that the other two things, or however many was there, they may have been more than two. I mean, it's just that my brother seen three of them.
Right.
But I just keep thinking that the other two came back and got them.
Yeah.
Got it, drug it off. Is what I think.
Yeah, not leave one behind. Makes sense.
Well, and down there in them woods, there's places you can't crawl through. It's just that thick that you can't even crawl through. So, I mean, they could get something, dig a little small hole and throw something in a hole and kind of cover it up, and you'd never know it was ever there. Put leaves and stuff back over it. And I think these things are smart. I think these things are smarter than people would ever give you credit for. But I don't understand. My thing is, like my brother said, he would have never shot at this thing. He would have never shot at him. He said, because he was just thinking they was great, big, huge dogs. He said, if that thing hadn't stood up on its hind legs and charged, he said he'd never shot at it.
Right.
But like I said, this thing probably didn't know that. I still think that he's seen Rick sit there thinking that it's going to be a free meal.
Yeah.
So, it was going to be an easy meal for him, and I also think sometimes that my brother said that the two run off to the right. I just kind of wonder, because we never seen them, or I never seen them. He never seen them after they took off running. I just wonder if they wasn't coming around trying to circle around, get in behind my brother.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Yeah,
I mean, they was trying to circle,
Yep.
To get, for an ambush type thing,
Yeah, because if you didn't see them, chances are they might not have seen you. The second they heard your shots coming from a distance, they probably got the better idea to take off.
Well, and like I say, I don't know what all these things think. I'll tell you something I would really like you to ask, if you could ask Victor for me.
Sure.
Or William, whichever. How many of those things are in the Ross County or Benton County area, if he could know?
Yeah. Next time I talk to him, I will ask him. And like he's going to say, they travel. So it'll just be at that moment, you know what I mean? But when I talk to him next, I'll ask him.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, just ask him for that for me. I'd really appreciate that.
And I'll text you.
I definitely want one of those books of Victor's.
Yeah, when they come out, yes, everyone.
Yes, if you could just send me a text or something to let me know, about what's going on. And also, I was going to ask you another question, which this amounts to nothing, but where do they have these cryptid things at? That they have the werewolves and the Dogman and stuff. Where do they have these shows at?
What do you mean, the shows?
Well, he's talking about going to something where they're going to have his books and sign these books and stuff.
We were talking about, we were just going to have we're trying to figure out a place to do a book signing if we do one.
Okay.
But it's not, I don't think he's not going through Amazon. He wants to do hardcovers and then possibly later on do digital ones. But so I'm probably going to make an announcement on my channel for, a couple weeks, and we'll figure it out when it's ready to go. But then maybe have a book signing somewhere, in middle USA, somewhere where it might be everyone can converge and go and sign, not everybody, but, or send them out to people that want an autographed one. I think that he should do that is, for those people that can't be present for a book signing, that, he signs them all, to be honest with you.
Yeah. What I'd like for him to do is sign them all, and that way, even if he could send one to a person, at least they would have a signed one. Because I would love to read his stories. I'm telling you, every time he comes on, I listen to it, I'm just thinking, man, this guy lived the life. He lived the life. But I'm telling you, he's got the biggest set of balls of any man I've ever known. Because after me seeing that one that I saw, that I shot, I would never want to hunt another one. I'd never want to hunt one. I'm telling you, that would be such a frightening, oh my God, that would be such a frightening encounter for me. Bad enough, the one that happened, without going looking for it,
Yeah, I agree.
But like I said, if you ever talk to him again, tell him that I think that he's got the biggest set of balls any man I ever know.
I will. And what I'll do is when I talk to him next, I'll text you that day, and what you've got around your area at that particular time. Okay.
Yeah, if you could do that for me, I'd so appreciate that, because, like I said, I've never seen another one. I've never heard anything other than coyotes. I know it's a coyote because I know what a coyote sounds like.
Right.
So I just wonder if there's not any here and they was just traveling through. That's what I kind of think sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But
well, we're up on about an hour here on my recording time. Is there anything that you'd like to say to everybody before we stop the interview?
Well, not a whole lot. Just be careful when you're out. Don't go walking, without something that you can fight with. I'm telling you, these things, I don't think a little 38 pistol would stop one, but at least maybe it would hurt it enough that you could run away from it or get away from it.
Yeah.
But and I really appreciate that you listening. I appreciate that you think what my story was worth listening to. So
yeah, I appreciate you coming on. I really do. I'm going to end the interview, but don't hang up, okay?
Okay.
All right, folks. Absolutely horrifying what him and his brother went through. Also, the DNR or DEC agent, how in God's name do you fall asleep? Unless you're an absolute lazy slug, which, the majority of the government is. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this second half as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. Your support is what makes the channel special and what continues to make it grow and go. It is truly appreciated. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, our pets, our family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there. They are dangerous. Share this information with people you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions. Never stop pushing back. And God bless you all.